son or daughter is a Star Wars fan, the first thing they're going to ask for are the figures.
The reason they're 3.75 inches tall is because the first mock-up figures that I made were Fisher-Price Adventure People.
Welcome back to GFT. Here is a new episode with your host Chris B. Thanks for tuning in. This will be fun. Let's discuss figures and the latest toy run from a galaxy far, far away. Let's dive into the news and what's next in your display. From the Black Series to TVC, from Hasbro to the Kenner Legacy. 3.75 inches, 6 inches tall. Galactic Figure Talk covers it all. Displaying, rearranging the collection. Discussing figures, asking Hasbro for perfection. The thrill of the hunt, filling gaps is the mission. Always on the move, always wanting mint condition.
I have 3 of each, 1 to display, 1 to open, and 1 just in case.
We finally launched 6-inch when I felt the time was right.
Displaying, rearranging the collection.
I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm here to rescue you.
Discussing figures, asking Hasbro for perfection. The thrill of the hunt, filling gaps is the mission. Always on the move, always wanting mint condition. Rapid firing fet, the early bird kit. So many topics to cover, which one to pick? Bent corners or creases on the card. Are bubbles too big, obstructing the art? Super articulation or 5POA? Soft good robes or plastic capes? Okay, maybe a live stream or pipeline reveal. Clearance find or an online deal. Whatever the topic may be, it's all driven by the GFT community. Rearranging the collection.
I don't think I ever left the DeLorean guard behind.
Discussing figures, asking Hasbro for perfection.
Listen to the waves. Don't you hear it? The lightsaber.
Thrill of the hunt, filling gaps is the mission. Always on the move, always wanting mint conditions. Display, rearranging the collection. Discussing figures, asking Hasbro for perfection. The thrill of the hunt, filling gaps is the mission. Always on the move, always wanting mint conditions.
The action figures are still exceedingly important.
400 people lined up in the cold drizzle at midnight to be the first to get their hands on the new Star Wars merchandise.
Galactic Figure Talk is back. So without further ado, here is Chris B with a brand new episode of GFT.
Welcome to another episode of GFT Galactic Figure Talk. My name is Chris B. I'm your host, and on this episode we gotta talk about the very first live stream and the very first reveals for 2025 coming from Hasbro. They held their live stream this morning on the Hasbro Pulse YouTube channel where they talked about the Vintage Collection and the Black Series. The Retro Collection was neglected. There were no announcements this morning for any of those, Kenner-esque figures. There were also, across the board, no vehicles, there were no creatures, there were no playsets. This was all just about figures themselves. So let's start out with the Black Series line because that was fairly quick. There were only 2 figures which they showed. One was Anakin Skywalker and the other one was Captain Rex. Both of them are from the Ahsoka TV series, from the flashback scenes that we had that showed us glimpses of the Clone Wars. Captain Rex comes in his Phase 1 armor, and then Anakin Skywalker, well, he looks like General Skywalker, just the way he looked in the Clone Wars, where the hair was already a little longer. So, very good looking figures. The one thing I can say about Captain Rex right off the bat, though, from looking at these images, is that it seems like they forgot to paint the figure. No dirt on it, no wash, no weathering, no nothing on this figure, which is a shame, really. But the sculpt looks good. The holsters look okay. They're not too big for the blaster, seems like. So, those are the 2 Black Series figures that they showed. We knew that those were coming because they had Pipeline revealed them before, and that actually gets me to Pipeline reveals. And they didn't Pipeline reveal anything on this stream today. So nothing for TVC and nothing for the Black Series was Pipeline revealed, which I thought was interesting. I guess we leave it up to the leaks to take the excitement away. So All right. So anyways, that was it for Black Series. 2 figures shown, which were previously already announced. Now let's talk about the 3 3/4 inch vintage collection. For TVC, it did look a little bit better than it did look for Black Series, although, yeah. Let's talk about all the figures that they showed. So they're giving us Balin, Skull, and Shinhati. Again, 2 figures which have been previously pipeline revealed. It's nice to see that Balin Skull apparently has the correct height. So he's definitely taller than Shinhati. So that looks good. The sculpt is there. Like with most of these figures, the sculpting is always pretty good these days. Where it's just lacking big time is paint. Although, you know, with Balin, Skull, and Shinhati, it doesn't stand out to me as something that isn't painted well. So I think they look really good. But of course, obviously, they didn't include their cloaks or their robes. And to me, that is an incomplete release. I mean, come on. They're doing now the same thing here that they're doing in Black Series, where they later repack those figures and include their robes. Lots of people are just turned off by that. People who collect loose are not going to pick those up. They're going to wait for better versions of those characters. Not better versions, but complete versions, you know. If it's a Jedi, they need their robes. If it's a character that's basically seen most of the time when they're on screen wearing those cloaks, maybe you should include those, Hasbro. Alright, but let's keep moving to see what else they had. They did show us the Mandalorian Super Commando, which is also based on a flashback sequence from the Ahsoka TV show. Good looking figure, cool looking card back. You know, I gotta say, like, this figure personally doesn't do anything for me. We've already gotten this figure or this character on a Clone Wars card. Granted, there's, like, I guess subtle differences or something, but not enough for me to get excited about this one, to be honest, because we already have it in our collections, you know? And then they're also repacking the 501st Clone Trooper, which, yeah, I get. I mean, there are certain characters that should be in rotation, I think. And so I gotta give kudos to them for doing an alternate card back, although they really picked one of those. Oh, God, you know, the Obi-Wan Kenobi TV show looked so bad in spots that it looked worse than a fan film in some shots. And the shot that they grabbed here for the 501st Clone Trooper is one of those where I feel like you could get that shot at a convention where it's just so overly glossy and it just doesn't, I don't know. But, I mean, it kind of adds to the quirkiness to some of those, you know, photos that we've gotten on the packaging for TVC over the last, I don't know how many years now. So, I guess it does fit in quite well, but, yeah, all right. But the thing is, I can't get excited about the Super Commando or the Mandalorian Super Commando because I feel like we already have it. And that's exactly how I feel about the 501st Clone Trooper as well, right? I mean, this really is something for somebody who's new to collecting, who was just starting out. But I don't know. I don't know how many 501st Clone Troopers we have now. I mean, is it 50, 60? I could go look it up on Galactic Figures, right? But that's my point, though. You know, I am looking for something to get really excited about. All right, and let's talk about the last figures that they showed. There was a 4-pack of B1 battle droids, which, you know, the idea itself is great to do the battle droids. But they yet again put one droid in there that is unique to the set with OOM9 from Episode 1, the Commander droid. And the question really is, how many Commando droids do you really need besides one? Maybe you need 2, but you certainly don't need 20 or 10. You know, I wish they would finally begin to realize that these are supposed to be troop builders. I mean, that's where I'm at. It's just not overly exciting because it doesn't feel like it is a true troop builder set. But let's talk about the thing that's interesting here, and that is the legs. They resculpted the legs on those droids. And I think that is great that they did that because, yes, the battle droids were always flimsy and they never really stood all that well, you know. And on top of that, the plastic used was always extremely soft. So when I, for example, put those in Ziploc bags and put them in storage for like, I don't know, for a few weeks or something and then pulled them back out, they are typically deformed just because the plastic heated up maybe a little bit or something. and the plastic was so soft that they just deformed. And so it looks like that's something that they fixed. But while they were already working on this, I mean, why not just fix the entire figure and get the entire figure up to par with what's going on currently in the vintage collection when it comes to articulation? Because the battle droid, I mean, you have those characters which are reoccurring in Star Wars storytelling constantly, and the battle droid is one of those characters. They constantly show up in Star Wars storytelling, prequels, Clone Wars, Bad Batch stuff. I mean, they're everywhere, and they will continue to be everywhere in Star Wars storytelling. Why not get this right for your fans? You know, I mean, when was the last time that this particular figure has been resculpted? I think actually the vintage collection figure that came out in, what was it, 2011 or something? Was that new? I don't remember now. But even if it was new back then, I mean, we're talking about 14 years or something like that at this point. Why not go ahead and just give your fans that? It's something you can keep repainting, and yeah. It is what it is. And I keep saying that a lot on the show, don't I? But yeah, alright, so let's sum it up real quick for the vintage collection. Balin Skull and Shin Hati, both single carded, both incomplete, not coming with their cloaks. Vintage collection Mandalorian Super Commando, which they kind of done before in TVC, based on the Clone Wars, not on the Ahsoka flashback scene. They're repacking a 501st Clone Trooper on a different or on an alternate card back, and they're doing the B1 Battle Droid 4-pack. So all things considered, with Black Series Anakin and Black Series Captain Rex Phase 1, I think this was an overall extremely lackluster live stream. You know, they did give us some updates, what's going on with the cantina and the figures, and I think that was pretty nice to hear that they're, you know, actively working on that still. But, you know, I also feel like in order to really connect with your audience, maybe you should have come out and said, you know what, you guys have been asking for the Bad Batch for more than a year now. We do have plans to make them little by little. You know, here is one of them today, and keep an eye out. You know, we'll get to them eventually over the years. Something like that. Or having witnessed how well the Skeleton Crew was received, that you just go ahead and say, you know what, so far we've only done one figure. We are committed to releasing the crew. Here's one figure that we're hoping to do in 2025, and then we'll see where it goes after that. But I just something, you know, something that's current. But we're constantly looking at remakes, repaints, repacks, characters that most of us already have more than just once in the collections, right? Looking for new characters here. Just looking for new stuff. Like new characters. Never before done characters. And that's not what we're getting anymore, unfortunately. So anyways, that's my look at today's live stream. I'm, you know, curious to see what's going to happen for the rest of 2025. Obviously, but yeah, I think the year kind of starts off mediocre. Maybe a little below average, I would say. Yeah, that's where I would categorize this. By the way, all those action figures are mainline releases, Black Series and TVC, with the exception of the Battle Droid 4-pack. That set is a Hasbro Pulse and Disney Store exclusive. All of those figures are going to go up for pre-order tomorrow, January 23rd at 1 o'clock East Coast time. If you would like to support what I do with GalacticFigures.com, where I archive Star Wars action figures and have been doing so for more than 20 years, please use the links that you can find on the website. It'll be on the main page tomorrow, and I'll be updating the links as soon as I get them. That's it for this. I think this is the third episode already for this year. So if you've missed some of them, please go back, listen to them. I did a bunch of episodes looking back at 2024 for Black Series and TVC, and then there was one episode where I looked into 2025. So if you haven't listened to those yet, please go back and check them out. And also, if you have a second, please hit that 5-star review in your podcast app. It does help the show, and it does help me to be motivated to keep pumping those podcast episodes out for you guys entirely for free. So thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.
This is